I caught my wife cheating in our own bed, the sheets still warm from her betrayal. It was a Tuesday, the kind of Tuesday that crawls. Slow. Lifeless. I had no reason to suspect anything. Not yet. We were 17 years deep, what I used to call battle-tested. We'd seen job loss, illness, the death of her father. I'd held her hand at the funeral. I still remember the tremor in her fingers. That day I promised I'd never leave her. I meant it. But promises are a one-way street when the other person's already chosen a different destination. Her name is Laura. She's 50 now. Still stunning. Raven black hair she dyes religiously every 6 weeks. Nails always perfect. She wears lipstick to go to the grocery store. Habit, she says. I used to think that pride in her appearance was for me, that she wanted to stay beautiful for us. But things change. It started small, like rot behind drywall. Her phone was suddenly face down every night. She laughed harder at texts she never showed me. A new perfume I hadn't smelled before. A gift from Susan at work, she said. I nodded, but the scent stayed with me. It wasn't from Susan. Then the gym became her temple. Twice a day some weeks. Early morning spin class, evening yoga. She said the sweat made her feel cleansed. She came back home glowing, breathing heavy, muscles taut beneath her tank tops. You should join me, she said once. I told her I was too old to stretch that far without tearing something. 17 years in, there's an understanding, an unspoken rhythm. You know when your partner's lying even if you don't know what about. Her voice stayed soft, her body warm in bed, but something behind the eyes had frozen over. I'd kiss her shoulder in the morning and she wouldn't flinch, but her smile had timing. Like a rehearsal. Too perfect. She started working late. Her boss, Rick, needed help prepping for a big audit. I met Rick once. Balding, with a limp handshake and zero charisma. It didn't add up. Laura was smart. Sharp. She once won a bonus at work just for correcting a VP's error mid-presentation. The idea she needed to assist Rick outside of office hours insulted her intelligence and mine. But I didn't press. Not yet. I wanted to believe I was just insecure. I'd lost some weight in recent months. Not by design, just stress and skipped meals. I thought maybe that was why she seemed distant. Maybe I was projecting. That's what the book said. Don't accuse without proof. So I waited. Then she changed the password on her laptop. Work stuff, she said. Can't have confidential documents exposed. I nodded again, but something itched. She never used to mind me checking email for her. Her texts used to light up on the kitchen counter while she cooked. Now her phone followed her like a child. Then came the photo shoot. She said her office was doing new headshots for the website. Said she needed a new blouse. Spent $90 on one. I asked if that was really necessary. She laughed and said, "You can't put a price on looking confident." But when she left for work the next day, she didn't wear the blouse. She wore something I hadn't seen in months. Low cut, fitted, with heels that clicked like a metronome as she walked to the car. I followed her that evening. I told myself it was stupid, that I was the jealous type, that I needed to get over myself. But my hands shook on the steering wheel. She didn't go to her office. She pulled into a restaurant halfway across town. Not a chain. Some quiet, dim-lit bistro you'd take someone you're not supposed to be seen with. I parked 2 cars behind her and waited. She sat alone for a minute, checked her phone, smiled. Then he appeared. Rick. Of course it was Rick. Except it wasn't the same man from the office holiday party. That Rick was disheveled, aloof. This Rick wore a pressed shirt, leaned in when he spoke, placed his hand on her thigh under the table like he'd done it 100 times. She didn't move it. I watched them order wine. I watched her laugh like she used to laugh with me. And when the check came, he paid. She leaned over and kissed him. Not a quick one. Not a peck. It was the kind of kiss that bends time, that rewrites memories. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't scream, or call her names, or burst into the restaurant. I took pictures. I documented everything. I watched them leave, him with his hand on the small of her back like he owned her. I followed them to a motel, 25 minutes away from the restaurant. The kind that charges by the hour. They disappeared behind a door. I sat in my car, engine off, staring at the closed curtains of room 114. I didn't blink for a long time. And still, I didn't tell her I knew. When she came home that night, she said, "Audit went well. Finally done with that nonsense." I looked up from the couch and said, "That's great." She kissed my cheek. I nearly laughed. The next morning, I woke up early. Her phone was on the nightstand. I picked it up. Still locked. Same passcode she thought I didn't know. I didn't look at her texts. I didn't need to. Instead, I installed a data clone app, one that would mirror her messages, her photos, everything, directly to a folder on my laptop. I renamed the folder something boring. Tax Files 2021. She'd never check. Over the next 10 days, I built a library of betrayal. And I planned. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't need fire. Sometimes it looks like calm, like patience, like waiting for the right moment to pull the thread and watch the whole thing unravel. But not yet. She still didn't know I knew. And I wasn't about to ruin the surprise. She started sleeping with her back to me. That was the first thing I noticed after the night at the restaurant. A small change, easy to excuse. Maybe she was hot. Maybe the mattress was lopsided. But it kept happening. Every night. Back turned. Arms folded. That body that used to curl into mine now barricaded by invisible walls. I didn't touch her. I didn't ask questions. I just stared at the ceiling and listened to the fan clicking every 3 seconds like a countdown. Our home, our little 2-story off cypress and bramble, became a museum. Every room frozen in a past life. The kitchen where we used to dance while waiting for coffee, now just a passageway she moved through without looking up from her phone. The couch where we watched every season of Mad Men twice. She started sitting on the edge of it, cross-legged, scrolling, headphones in. Even our dog, Murphy, picked up the tension. He used to sleep at our feet. Now he curled up in the hallway like he didn't want to pick sides. I started noticing things. Her toothbrush was often dry at night. Her car smelled faintly of cologne that wasn't mine. She began locking the bathroom door when she showered. She'd always left it cracked before, saying she liked to hear me moving around the house while she got ready. Now she sealed herself away, humming off-key to music I never heard through the walls. One night, I asked her how work was. She said, "Long day," and reached for her wine without looking up. She sipped, swirled the glass, checked her phone, and smiled. That smile made something in my chest ache. Not the fact that she smiled. It was who she smiled for. Because it wasn't me. Hadn't been in a while. The worst part was how good she got at it. Lying. Slipping through the cracks. She'd tell me she was picking up a shift, and her keys would jingle like it was any other Tuesday. No hesitation. No flicker of guilt in her voice. Just a quick kiss on the cheek and the smell of that unfamiliar perfume lingering like smoke. I never asked to smell her clothes. Never checked her mileage. I didn't need to. I already knew the house was haunted. What I didn't know was when it had died. I started keeping a journal. Not because I needed one, but because I needed something. Somewhere to put the storm that had begun to live in my throat. Every day, I wrote the same thing at the top of the page. What changed? Tuesday, March 5th. She didn't look up from her phone during dinner. I told her I got offered a new project at work, more hours, better pay. She nodded and said, "Do whatever you think's best." That used to be something we celebrated. Now it's background noise to whatever conversation she's really having. Whoever it's really with. I watched her lips curve into a silent smirk when she read something. I asked her what it was. She said, "Meme from Susan." I didn't laugh. I didn't ask to see it. Friday, March 8th. She wore heels. She said she had to meet with a vendor after hours. I said okay. She used to hate wearing heels. Said they killed her feet. Now she wears them every Thursday and Friday. I told her I'd save some pasta for her in the fridge. She said she might be late. She always is. Sunday, March 10th. I caught her humming in the bathroom. Same melody she hummed last week. I tried to remember if it was from the playlist we used to share. I checked my phone. No, it wasn't on there. I asked her where she heard it. She said it was in a movie she saw. I asked which one. She said she forgot. Wednesday, March 13th. She didn't wear her wedding ring. She said her finger was swelling from something she ate. I nodded. She went out anyway. Her hand looked fine to me. There were dozens more entries. A catalog of small betrayals disguised as routine. And I wrote them all down because I refused to forget. The problem with doubt is that it makes you question your own memory. So I wrote the truth before she could edit it. I started waking up early. Earlier than her. I'd go downstairs, make coffee, and listen. Not to the house, but to her. How she moved. How long she took in the bathroom. Whether she used the mirror in our bedroom or the one in the hallway. It was in those quiet hours that I realized. She had become a stranger. A stranger who lived in my house, borrowed my name, and slept in my bed. And every day, I said nothing. I watched. I waited. The more careful she became, the more mistakes she made. I'd walk into the room, and she'd snap her laptop shut too quickly. I'd say goodnight, and hear her phone vibrate minutes after I turned off the light. One morning I reached for the charger on her nightstand, and she lunged for it like I was disarming a bomb. I smiled and said, "Relax, just needed to charge mine." She didn't smile back, just said, "You should get your own cord," and rolled away from me again. We hadn't had sex in 6 weeks. Not since the night I touched her thigh under the sheets and she said, "Not tonight. I'm just really tired." But she didn't sound tired. She sounded annoyed. Like I was an obligation. Like my hand was a cold thing she had to tolerate. I stared at her back that night for 3 hours. That was the same night I started digging. I checked our shared calendar. She'd deleted multiple recurring events. Her gym classes. The monthly office happy hour. She said they'd been canceled. But I knew better. I called the gym. Asked if they still held the Thursday spin class. "Yep. Full house every week," the woman chirped. "Laura's one of our regulars." I thanked her and hung up. Lied right to my face. I felt my jaw tighten. Not with rage. Not even sadness. With clarity. That was when I knew. The woman who sat across from me every night wasn't my wife. She wore her skin, used her voice, remembered my birthday. But the soul? Gone. Packed up and shipped somewhere else. She wasn't cheating yet. I told myself that. She wasn't. Not yet. But every word she said was a breadcrumb toward something worse. And I was going to follow. Every lie. Every whisper. Every perfectly timed, "I'll be home late." She thought she was leading me into silence. But I was building a storm. And storms don't warn before they arrive. The mornings became unbearable. There was something cruel in how normal they looked. Sunlight on the countertops, the kettle hissing, her humming in the hallway with a toothbrush in her mouth. She'd say, "Morning, babe," and I'd say, "Morning," and somehow neither of us choked on it. But I felt it. Every second. I'd stare at the back of her head while she stood at the sink. Long, dark hair pulled into a lazy ponytail. Neck arched like it used to be when I kissed her shoulder on sleepy Saturdays. And I'd think, how far is she willing to take this lie? And worse, how long am I willing to let her? I started taking mental notes. Not just on her, but on myself. How I adjusted. How I moved. I became precise. I shaved at the same time each day. I took the same route to work. Ate the same lunch. Set alarms not because I needed them, but because I wanted routine. I needed control. Because inside, everything was unraveling. The only place that made sense was my car. I'd sit in the driveway longer than I should after getting home. Sometimes with the engine running. Sometimes just staring at the dashboard lights. There was a comfort in the quiet. No questions. No fake laughter. No stomach-sick tension waiting behind the front door. Just the hum of the world moving on without me. She stopped saying, "I love you," before bed. I noticed it 3 nights in a row. Then 4. Then 10. I tested it one evening. As we turned off the lights, I whispered it. "Love you." She paused, said, "MMM," and rolled over. Not even a full sentence. Just a syllable. A noise. I didn't say it again after that. She used to send me texts during the day. Nothing heavy. Just things like, "Thinking about you," or "Miss your face," or a photo of a sandwich she made for lunch. They stopped. Now it was nothing until she needed something. Groceries. Gas money. Don't forget to stop by the pharmacy. Always directives. Never warmth. I responded with one-word answers. Sometimes emojis. Never punctuation. I wanted her to feel the static in every reply. The silence between us wasn't sudden. It was built like sediment, layer by layer, day after day. And still, she smiled in public. Still laughed with the neighbors. Still posted birthday wishes and tagged me in memories. 17 years strong, she wrote under a picture of us from 3 years ago. My hand around her waist. Her smile genuine. People commented, "Goals. Still so in love. You too give me hope." I didn't respond. I was too busy watching her mouth while she typed replies, making sure it didn't twitch. Looking for the glitch in her face. Then came the Friday dinner. She told me she wanted to go out. Just us. A proper date. "We've both been so busy," she said, running her hand through my hair like she used to. I should have felt happy. Instead, I felt dread. She dressed up. Tight dress. Black heels. Lipstick I hadn't seen in months. When I told her she looked stunning, she blinked like she didn't expect the compliment. Or maybe she didn't want it from me. Dinner was fine. Not great. Just fine. She asked me questions about work, nodded at the right times, smiled at jokes that weren't funny. And the whole time, I kept wondering, is this guilt? Is this her idea of maintenance? Is she trying to stay close enough to keep suspicion low, or is she saying goodbye in pieces? On the way home, I tried to hold her hand in the car. She let me, but it was limp, like a borrowed hand, like she was thinking about something else, someone else. The next day, she made breakfast, eggs, toast, and coffee, everything exactly the way I like it. She even played our old morning playlist. Ray LaMontagne's "You Are the Best Thing" drifted through the kitchen like a ghost. She danced while flipping eggs, swung her hips. I watched in silence. It was a performance. I didn't say a word until she placed the plate in front of me. Then I looked her straight in the eyes and asked, "What are you trying to make up for?" She blinked, froze, then laughed. "You're being weird," she said, turning away to wash the pan. I didn't press. I didn't repeat myself. I just let her laughter fade into the clink of dishes and the low hum of music that meant nothing anymore. The following week, she told me she was going to visit her sister in Asheville. Girls' weekend. Just wine and trash TV, she smiled, already scrolling through Airbnb options. "Do you want me to drive you to the airport?" I asked. She hesitated. "Oh, I'm just going to drive. Easier than flying for such a short trip." I said, "Of course." Then I told her to take the Subaru. It had better tires, better gas mileage. She didn't fight me on it. She never fought me on anything anymore. That night, after she fell asleep, I walked out to her car, quiet as a shadow. Used the spare key. Popped the trunk. Nothing. Just a duffel bag and a yoga mat. Then I checked the glove box. Inside was a map of the state, folded neatly. But when I opened it, there were notes scribbled on it. Circles around towns. A date written in the corner that matched the weekend of her trip. She didn't need a map for Asheville. She'd been there a dozen times. The circles weren't anywhere near it. When I came back inside, she was still asleep, curled into the pillow like she was dreaming of something sweeter than home. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the back of her neck. I didn't shake her. I didn't yell. I just stared. I realized then I wasn't mourning the end of something. I was watching its autopsy in real time. And the body hadn't even been buried yet. Every second of it tightened. Like a knot, slow pulled by a hand she swore wasn't hiding anything. The morning she left for her Asheville trip, she hugged me with both arms but none of her weight. That's the kind of thing you feel when you've spent 17 years memorizing someone's body. She was always the kind who leaned in, collapsed into me like we were gravity-bound. But that morning, she just touched. "I'll text you when I get there," she said, tossing her bag into the trunk I packed for her. She wore oversized sunglasses and lip gloss. Her nails had been done 2 days earlier. French tip. Clean. Too clean for her sister's couch and boxed rows. She kissed my cheek, said, "Love you," and slid into the driver's seat. I watched the car disappear down Bramble Lane and didn't move from the porch for 15 minutes. She never texted when she got there. I didn't ask, because I was already moving. I took the day off. Told the office my wife needed me to help with a family emergency, only the emergency wasn't hers. It was mine. I opened my laptop, pulled up the tracking software I installed 3 weeks earlier when the signs became too sharp to ignore. She'd never notice. It ran silent. Masked. Her GPS pinged clean. She didn't go to Asheville. She didn't even hit the highway. Her route veered southwest, into a small town that didn't have a Whole Foods or a wine bar or anything her sister would ever tolerate. It was an hour and 40 minutes away, just long enough to make the excuse hard to challenge. Just far enough to feel unreachable. At 4:03 p.m., she stopped moving. The pin on the map froze in place beside an address that didn't mean anything to me. A house. Quiet street. 1-car garage. No neighbors listed. She stayed there overnight. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed with the lamp on, staring at the wall, running through every conversation we'd had in the last 3 months. I thought about the time she said she was too tired for dinner but came home with her makeup still perfect. I thought about how she started using different shampoo, one that smelled like jasmine instead of citrus. I thought about how she started laughing softer. Not less, but softer. Controlled. Like she didn't want to be heard on the other end of the phone. Saturday, the second day of her trip. She sent me a photo of a river. "Beautiful hike this morning. Wish you were here." No picture of her. Just trees and a rocky bend that could have been anywhere. I reverse image searched it. Stock photo. Page 3 of Google. Taken 6 years ago by someone named Outdoor Nomad 88. I didn't respond. Just logged the time. Logged the lie. Watched the tracker. She moved again that afternoon. Drove 10 minutes to a grocery store. Stayed there 11 minutes. then drove back to the same address. She never bought groceries. She never once opened the trunk I packed. I knew because I'd placed a small sticker over the seam. It was still there. Untouched. Perfect. Like her alibi. She came back Sunday night, smelling like hotel soap and cheap detergent. I was on the couch when she walked in, TV on, muted, a beer in my hand I hadn't touched. "Hey," she said. "Trip was good. How was your weekend?" I looked at her. Quiet. She smiled like she believed it. "Same," she said. I helped her carry the bag upstairs. She didn't flinch when I unzipped it. Didn't panic when I held her clothes, folded, unworn. No dirt. No sweat. No perfume. No signs of sisterhood or road dust or wine-fueled card games. Just control. She was good. I'll give her that. She moved through the week like nothing had happened. She offered to cook on Wednesday. Made penne arrabbiata, extra spicy, my favorite. Played our old jazz vinyl in the background. Billie Holiday cracked and hummed while she wiped sauce from her wrist with a white cloth napkin. "Why the sudden romance?" I asked. She tilted her head. "I missed you," she said. I stared at her for a moment. "You were gone for 2 days." She shrugged. "Still missed you." The thing about liars is that they're always one step ahead of their own truth. She wasn't trying to convince me anymore. She was trying to cover, rebuild the trail she'd already set fire to. She knew I'd felt the shift. She could sense it. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that I had stopped needing her confirmation. I was building something else. A picture. Not just of what, but of how. Her patterns. Her timing. What she said, and what her body betrayed in the silence afterward. Her tells. She had one. I noticed she touched her ring finger when she lied. Not the ring. Just the finger. She touched it when she said she was tired. When she said she didn't need help with laundry. When she said she wasn't talking to anyone. When she said, just going out for a bit. Be back soon. I noticed it on the 4th Saturday of April. She wore a cream-colored sweater and jeans I hadn't seen before. Not new, but not mine. I asked her where she was going. She said, "Just errands." "Want me to come?" I asked. She smiled. "No, it's boring stuff." Ring finger. I watched her walk to the car. Watched her check herself in the side mirror. Then watched the driveway go empty again. I waited 5 minutes. Then 10. Then I followed. It wasn't panic. It wasn't paranoia. It was math. A formula that had finally started solving itself. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed every piece. Every scrap. Every perfect lie sewn together like a tapestry. This was no longer about saving something. This was about understanding what died. Not how, but when. And why. Because no one buries 17 years without a eulogy. And I intended to write mine with precision. She was supposed to be at a dentist appointment. I watched her walk into a hotel instead. Not a high-end place. Not the kind of place you go for a conference or a corporate meeting. This one had tinted windows and a flickering vacancy sign half-lit. Room doors faced the parking lot. No concierge. No business center. Just quick check-ins and quicker regrets. She was wearing the green dress. The one with the slit up the thigh. She hadn't worn that in a year. Said it didn't fit right anymore. Said it made her feel a little too much. But today she wore it with heels and lipstick the color of betrayal. She checked her reflection in the car window. She adjusted her necklace. She smiled. Then she went inside. I didn't follow right away. I sat in my car and counted. Minutes. Breath. The beats between choices. At 3:07 p.m., another car pulled in. Burgundy Camry. A man stepped out. Tall. Gray hair. Cheap sunglasses. Sport coat over jeans. He looked around like a man with secrets. Then walked in without knocking. I took the photos. All of them. Him entering. Her car. The timestamp. The license plate. The parking permit hanging from his mirror, company name printed clearly. He was no stranger. He was Rick. Her boss. Her, just Rick from accounting boss. I waited 47 minutes. Then I went in. No knocking. No warning. Room 12. Door unlocked. The first thing I saw was her shoes on the floor. The second was her on the bed. The third was him, scrambling for the sheets like a teenager caught by a parent. She screamed. He said my name. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I had waited so long for that moment. The lie melting off their faces. The sound of her voice choking on an excuse that would never be enough. She tried to speak. I held up my phone and said, "Smile." Flash. She reached for a pillow. Covered herself like she still had dignity to protect. Rick stammered something. Said he was sorry. Said it wasn't what it looked like. You're right, I said. It's worse. She stood up then, the blanket dragging, trying to grab her clothes. You followed me? No, I said. I tracked you. I cloned your phone 3 weeks ago. She froze. That was the first time I saw fear in her eyes. I turned and walked out. Left them in there, tangled in the sheets of their own stupidity. I didn't go home. I didn't call her. I drove straight to my lawyer's office and dropped a thumb drive on his desk. We go scorched earth, I told him. No settlements. No silence. He nodded and said, this will do. The next 72 hours were war. I sent the photos to her company's HR department, anonymously, of course. Included Rick's full name, employee number, and a polite note about inappropriate workplace behavior. Attached screenshots of their texts. Company phone. Work hours. Explicit details. Rick was fired before noon the next day. She called me 37 times that night. I didn't answer. Then came her parents. Her mother begged me not to destroy her reputation. I told her she did that herself. I'm just publishing the obituary. I leaked the photos, tastefully censored, to a Facebook group for our neighborhood. The caption was simple. Some relationships die quietly. Others deserve a funeral. Comments exploded. Friends started texting me. Some defended her. Most didn't. I wasn't finished. I sent flowers to Rick's wife. Black dahlias and a card that read, he's all yours now. I had one more move. One final twist of the knife. Her birthday was a week away. She always planned a big dinner, friends, family, the whole curated image of perfection. I confirmed the reservation she made at her favorite restaurant. Then I invited everyone. I even wore the suit she bought me last Christmas. She showed up late. Alone. Still wearing the mask of the woman she used to be. People clapped. I stood and lifted a glass. To Laura, I said, raising my voice. 17 years. That's how long I loved her. That's how long I was loyal to a woman who was ing her boss in a roadside motel. Silence. No music. No laughter. Just forks dropping and one woman gasping into her wine. I let it hang. Then I clicked the remote in my pocket. Projector screen came down. Slideshow began. Every text. Every photo. Every timestamp. Every single piece of her double life, displayed in 1080p for the people who thought they knew her. She ran out. I stayed and finished dessert. That night, I slept like a child. Because some betrayals deserve mercy, and some deserve documentation. I chose the latter. I moved out 2 days later. Left the keys and the ring on the kitchen table. Took the dog. Took my piece. She's still in the house. Still begging me to talk. But there's nothing left to say. Because I didn't just catch her. I ended her. Subscribe to hear more stories.